presenter to speak on kernel panic with an exclamation point. Kernel panic! Okay. Addressing the system administration challenges of massive Moodle management. Okay. Of course, there are challenges. And not only administrative, but this one is focusing on the admin challenges. We have Mr. Heriberto Rojas Jr., System Administrator at the University of the Philippines, Open University, in charge of the upkeep of all the online services of the university. What a gargantuan role, right? Yeah. Later on, I'm interested to see the job description, okay, and the qualifications required. Okay, so he is passionate about open source software, emerging technologies, and books. Wow. So not only e-books, sir, right? But the actual books. Okay. Let's all welcome Mr. Heriberto Rojas Jr., System Administrator of the University of the Philippines, Open University.
Hi, good afternoon. Please give me a minute to get set up here. I'm so sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Heriberto Rojas Jr. You can call me J for short. I'm a systems administrator for the University of the Philippines, Open University. Oh, that's me. Okay. So, yeah, I'm a systems admin for the past few decades. And at a lesser extent, a web app developer, more on debugging these days. So I'm here to talk about addressing the system administration challenges of massive Moodle management. So for those of you who are looking to use Moodle as a MOOC platform, or anticipating a large amount of users coming in to your Moodle, this might be of interest to you. So a little bit of introduction. So Moodle, the official MOOC platform of the University of the Philippines, Open University, suddenly gained popularity in a span of 2 months in early 2023. So from less than 100,000 of users, we suddenly have an additional 100,000 on top of that. So of course, this created major system admin challenges. So we experienced email delays, system unavailability, and data corruption. So we have a number of LMSs we manage a number of LMSs in UPOU, but we have never experienced amount of usage this way before. So here we explore the methods employed by the ICT Development Office, my office, in handling the challenges of massive Moodle management. So As introduced by my colleagues earlier, so we have massive open distance e-learning or model. So this is what it looks like, so give it a visit sometime. We have here the 2023 massive, the MOOCs for 2023. So you can, if you can see, some of these have very niche or very targeted audience, but some have a very broad, you can expect to have a large amount of users. For example, I'd say basics of graphic design. So a lot of users might be interested in that. Script writing for video material. Oh, and for July, I think we have a large amount of enrollees on basic animation using Photo, and a lot more other courses. MOOCs here. Okay, so model. Established in April 2012, model is a complement to the university, to UPOU's academic platform, MyPortal. So in MyPortal, we have the academic, the degree courses, and in model, we have the MOOCs as a complement. So up until December 2022, model is housed in a single line node, VM. It's served through Nginx and MariaDB. So here are the specs and the price of that CPU, shared CPU plan. So on January 2023, after being featured in news outlets and social media, model suddenly exploded in popularity. So we received 100,000 new users from the period of 2 months. So that will be from late December 2022 to Feb 2023. So imagine from its inception, its start in 2012. Yeah, 2012. We have 85,000 users. And then suddenly there's another 100,000 users coming in just 2 months. So, power of social media. So, with that came a number of issues. So, of course, we had emails, so email delays. So, lots of users, lots of email notifications. So, we have login credentials taking days to arrive. And thousands of notifications per forum post. So if you can imagine an activity, let's say introduce yourself in a MOOC. So you have one user introducing him or herself, and then multiply that to 20,000. So imagine the number of emails going out, which are expectedly deferred or flagged as spam. Issue number 2, we had timeouts. So this is the usual timeout that users saw, the usual error 524. I think this is a Cloudflare specific error, but it just means the site is unusable or unavailable. And this is probably the worst we had. So data corruption. So an ongoing MOOC activity got corrupted due to simultaneous user submissions. So this became irrecoverable, and sadly we had to another forum has to be established. So with that, 3 issues, 3 very scary issues. So we employed several methods and tools. So most are, yes, of course, there's the technical aspects, but we have the managerial, the administrative side as well. So I will go through this one by one. So in preparation for the upcoming MOOCs of the year, we actually upgraded our plan to twice the capacity. So from Linode shared CPU 8 gig, we improved that to the next plan, which is 16 gig. However, of course, this will prove ineffective without additional tune-ups, as we see. Okay, first of all, we employed proper time management and downtime timing. So unlike UPOU's academic LMS My Portal, model caters to anyone. So I think that's the factor why it had too many users, because imagine on academic LMSs, on degree courses, you have several requirements. So on model, the only requirement is just to enroll yourself. That's as with all other MOOCs. So 24/7 availability is an absolute necessity for model, because users will access this whenever they have time. So diverted timing maintenance is crucial to minimize the effect of users. So we time this during basically here in the Philippines, we have I think two long holidays where we can employ system fixes with expecting users which are only there will be only a few users. Excuse me. So that will be one, the Christmas holidays, and of course we have the Holy Week here in the Philippines, which coincides with another holiday, Day of Valor. So this gave us a 5-day window to do some under the hood maintenance. So it is very important to get as much work done during your scheduled maintenance to avoid repeated downtimes. So moving on to the more technical, I think, side of things is we employed transactional email services and some fixes involving Google Postmaster. So Model has its postfix mail transfer agent. So the first MOOC for 2023 reached 20,000 registered users, prompting Gmail and Yahoo to temporarily defer or outright mark the emails as spam. So as an alternative, UPO we used Hugo Mails to send course announcements, and this is some of the server load. So also temporarily disabling notifications and utilizing other forms of information dissemination, such as emails, chat, and social media help as well. So we also employed bulk user creation. So since the two most popular email services, Gmail and Yahoo, are deferring or marking our emails as spam, some users did not receive their temporary credentials, or received them late. So at which point, of course, the temporary password, the credential, is already expired. A Google form was utilized as a sign-up sheet for Model. So this enabled, bulk user creation enabled us to immediately confirm user accounts en masse. So also, bulk user creation enabled our office to somehow sanitize the registrations. So some of the registrants have wrong email address misspellings. So of course they won't receive the email. Some have their usernames wrong, and we can also see others that have their domain wrong. For example, at gmail.com or at Waifu, so the A is missing. So all that jazz. And of course, some users also got impatient, so they resorted to creating duplicate or dummy accounts with the same username or last name, or sometimes garbage username, garbage first name or last names. So we were able to filter those out. So initially, making adjustments to the components of the system were made, but this is a reactive way of addressing the issues, a band-aid solution. So with this in mind, we collaborated with our colleagues from Allama Iqbal Open University, AIOU, in Pakistan. So they are led by Dr. Kamran Mir, the director of their ICT there. So AIOU has thousands of students every semester. So these thousands of users were handled by an on-premise system, an on-premise cluster of servers. So for phase 1, we just separated the web and database servers. So keep in mind, from 2012 to 2022, the number of registered users in the system is just 85,000, and then suddenly in 2 months it's 185. So it was getting by, the system was getting by quite okay before this influx happened. So obviously we have to deploy these phases now, these solutions. So the model was split into 2 servers. So we have the web server and the database server. So the web server was just got the lower plan, which is just a shared CPU. So shared CPU, I think of course the CPU is not dedicated, so other systems in that cluster might use the CPU if unused. So this will be a problem when we need the CPU already. And of course, the database was moved to a Linode dedicated plan. So the database got the better plan, which is we will see later. So for phase 2, we employed database server fine-tuning using an open source Perl script called MySQL Tuner. So it generates a report every run indicating the critical issues, and makes recommendations every run. So it makes recommendations on what we can do, what we can adjust with our system, with our database. I think it even detects weak passwords. So very, very useful open source script. Yeah, I love open source. And phase 3, this is still in research. So of course, for obvious reasons of better load balancing, better fault tolerance, better scalability, we need to employ database clustering. So Linode has this database cluster, if you're interested. And of course, for phase 4, web server caching by Redis. So this is also still being researched. So Redis is the that server in the middle. So it's a caching server, so it caches data which are not usually changed, and then stores it for quicker access. So future plans. So actually we were able to improve the status of model, the system status of model by just completing the up to phase 2. So for future proofing, of course, we would want to complete all the phases defined in our four phase improvement plan. Okay, so we plan to do more benchmarking. So we established that some course has more popularity over others. So we would like to find out exact numbers, so better benchmarking. And of course, I will do this when I come back. So archiving of completed courses. So all of this is just to provide better system performance for outstanding service delivery. So some insights, we need to prioritize, I suggest we prioritize cloud deployment. So some of our colleagues here might be thinking of deploying to the cloud. So yeah, just the ICT, the government handling ICT, has a department circular regarding that. So you can find that here, 2017-002. We can also, if you're starting on MOOCs, maybe employ a pre-registration period to better estimate the number of students coming in for a course, so you can adjust your system resources accordingly. And of course, again, time management and proper downtime timing. So, and also, I think, yeah, the most important is number 4, having a creative and an open work environment. So we are the University of the Philippines, open university anyway. So it's nice to have an open work environment where you can share solutions. Okay, so I guess that's the end of my presentation. So here's our website and our email address if anyone's interested for collaboration. And those are my personal contacts if you would learn to ask me questions or something. So thank you very much. Thank you to Nakila Web for this opportunity, and thank you everyone for listening. And of course, thank you to my colleagues from UPOU, and especially to our director, Dr. Pugoy. So come on guys, please stand up and be recognized. And those are my support system. Thank you very much.
You're a team. Okay. Sir, just stay there. We may have 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Billy from TESDA. So, sir, curious lang kami, how do you do yung archiving of the courses? If it's alright to share. Okay.
Yes po. I think, actually, Tagalog na ako. I-employ pa namin yun, gagawin pa lang namin yun. So, I think there is a way to put that into a script automatically. But personally, since we're just starting to archive, I think I will do this manually. And of course, I think there's a backup button on, so you can back up the whole course. So I find that yeah, it works. but maybe if you're looking to secure the backup, because I think it is nagba-back up siya into like a zip type of archive. I suggest running it through 7-zip. That's another file archiver, open source. The beauty of that is there's AES encryption, so you can encrypt the backup if you're particular in protecting it. And then afterwards, delete the course, delete the unencrypted backup.
Are you satisfied? Oh, okay. Dr. Ray.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're pertaining to archiving or backing up old courses, right? Yeah, so actually what we have employed here, all the past courses on or before 2020, we removed them from our main Moodle instance para makahinga yung Moodle server natin, and we moved all of them into an entirely separate server. It's a local machine, di naman kailangan 24/7 availability dito. The local machine, all the backups, all the old courses nandun. And then if ever a teacher or a student would want to access the old courses, then that's the only time that we will give them temporary access. So it's more of pag-isipan na lang ninyo anong particular time period you can move all of them to the backup server or instance.
Yeah.
Sorry
Thank you, Dr. Ray.
Siyempre, ito po yung atake ko. Medyo technical.
Yes, and of course, I think I understand the huge demand of an institution like TESDA, right? While we keep on recreating. Yes, okay. Millions of skills, diba? Okay, so yeah, that's just one, so we can have one more.
Ma'am,
yes, si ma'am.
Again, first is, sir, maybe I could, where could I ask for your presentation with this one, because I would like to talk it also with my partner system administrator, so we could look into our own LMS also. And my concern is the manage as your system admin. Have you ever encountered a problem, or maybe in which a certain course is looping? It got corrupted, and when I try to access the course, sometimes it could be accessed. Most of the times it will just go with this is a timeout, and then if I'm going to go with the gradebook, it will just reflect that the gradebook is looping. I looked into the database and then there's no log of the error, but when I look at the gradebook, so it's looping. What could have you ever encountered that kind of problem?
Yes.
Looping course.
Yes, ma'am. I think something similar, but not exactly that. But the course was totally inaccessible. So what we just did there was restore the course from the latest backup. Yes. Before we deploy our MOOCs, our LMSs, kasi we try to have a backup system in place. So that's the fastest way. We restore corrupted or inaccessible courses.
How do you schedule your backups let's just say in a semester? How often do you do the backup of the entire?
Usually we do, ma'am, depending on the system. Sometimes we do as often as every day, like the dead hours, the sleeping hours, to say like 2 or 3 a.m. And for model in particular, maybe just once a week because a lot of users are accessing it. So, you know, to minimize the downtime because you know, the backup will introduce some lag in the server.
Last question. So it's not more of a question, it's more of soliciting a suggestion. So what we did with our LMS is, say for example, we have a general education subject, for example, mathematics or general algebra. So algebra is being taught by 30 or 20, more or less 20 instructors. So what we did with our LMS is they just have one classroom with all these 20 instructors because they are using the same syllabus. They are using, because the exams should be departmentalized. They have the same exam. All teachers should be contributing the questions. So that is what we were looking into when we assigned the classroom. So unfortunately, what happens is one teacher will create he will copy the same material and then copy the same material. So the entire classroom is, ano ba yun, sobrang puno na. So I think it's not a good practice. What do you suggest with like the number of instructors, or should it be one course, one instructor only?
That's how we usually do it, ma'am. Or you know, there's one instructor and another, let's say, teaching aid, but just a teaching aid. So there's, you know, one person in control of the course to prevent.
Because we were looking into the resources would be like replicating, because they will be uploading the same syllabus. They will be uploading the same materials. They will be uploading the same questions. So that's why we just put them together in one classroom. So it's not an advisable setup.
Okay.
One by one. The best.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't think I can. Maybe one of my colleagues can. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a quick suggestion. Yeah, we can marry both of your ideas, such that one course side, one teacher or two teachers, and then the content of the course side would be links. So with that, you are not wasting any space, right? You know, off the top of my head right now. Okay.
Our director, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and share it with all, right? Yeah, very good. Yeah, there are always opportunities, right? To redirect, recreate, di ba, ma'am? Okay, so, Sir Heriberto, yeah, we want you to stay there and we request Max Aspley, representing our Global Moodle organization, channel partner, handing our certificate of appreciation in your gratefulness for our gratitude for you sharing your expertise and knowledge today with us, July 7th at the Century Park Hotel, Manila. Thank you. Big round of applause. Are you still